Good evening and welcome to another episode of Raise the Bar with the Sky High and Fly Jump Guy, Troy Haynes. I'm going to be coming to you this evening with kind of a second attempt with Malachi Carrasco. We had a great first attempt, and the bar was wiggling and it fell off. So and when it fell off, I, being my own tech guy, kind of screwed up and didn't get the recording right. So called it a test run, and now we've got our second attempt at the Raise the Bar podcast with Malachi Carrasco and Coach Haynes. So we're going to be bringing that to you in just a minute as soon as Malachi checks in from the green room. All right. And now we're just going to let this run, and I can edit it later because last time I hit the pause button and I forgot to unpause it. So let's not do that again. You guys can watch me play my war game because that's what I do when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Or instead of, yep. Oops. I'm up here doing my podcast. Right. We lost Malachi. So as part of the preamble, this week at Vanguard University, where I'm in my fourth year of coaching either high jump or jumps or pole vault. This year has been primarily high jump. We are going to be going up to the very first for Vanguard University at the Division II level conference championships, which coincidentally, as this year started, the top jumper in the conference came Malachi Carrasco, who last year was at the state finals. And one of the other top jumpers is Eli Caltrader. I've had the pleasure of coaching both of these young men, and Malachi went up to Fresno Pacific, and Eli went up to Sacramento State. They happen to be in the same conference as as the kids in Vanguard. So it's this just keeps happening. It's really been kind of cool. I keep bumping into my previous clients sometimes. They leave the fold, they go off into college, and have varying degrees of success, but most of them have been, doing pretty well after they leave. Jack Weissman, finished third in state back in 2019, went off to UCSD, waited a while, but in his senior year, finally made 7 feet and took really good tries at 7.3, and then hung up his spikes and became a pilot. And then Aiden Garnett, who came in 6th that same year, Jack came in 3rd, went off to Utah Valley, where he worked with Mike Ashton, our often guest. I actually met Mike through, the connection with Aiden. And Aiden jumped 7 feet as a freshman that year and won the WAC conference indoors, and then went off on a Mormon mission for 2 years and has come back and is now starting to finish up because 2019 was his senior year. So we're already 6 years later. Subtract the 2 for the Mormon mission, you got 4. I don't know if he's got another one because of COVID or anything like that, but Aiden's been a consistent 7-footer. Who else is out there? Kyle Jenkins, worked with Kyle his senior year. He was jumping 6'10" right before the pandemic in 2020. He went off to San Jose State, where he teamed up with Tyler Cash. Now, I didn't get a chance to work with Tyler Cash but once. It was right after state finals. Went up there to Santa Clarita and had a really interesting session. Learned a lot of things by watching him. So here we are with another one of our alumni.
Here we are.
Roscoe.
All right.
Fresh out of an ice bath with Epsom salts. Is that what we did?
Yeah, it was actually a hot Epsom salt bath because we got a couple of days to so I don't need to be cold yet, but maybe the day before I'll get an ice bath.
I highly recommend them. Like I said, I don't know if I told this story here on the pod before, but if I could go back like in Back to the Future kind of fashion and as Marty McFly and talk to my earlier self, I would go back and say, dude, double down on ice baths. Like you can't do them, literally cannot do them too much. Your shins will feel a lot better. You'll recover faster. I mean, all those things. It was unfortunately early 80s and I wasn't up on that stuff yet. So
right. No, yeah, I did ice before my last meet because I wasn't feeling too good, but that ice definitely helped me feel good enough,
Right? Yeah. Well, my favorite saying is numb is fun. So once you go numb, man, it's kind of bliss, or numb is bliss. That works too. Boy, Malachi Carrasco is joining us here on Raise the Bar. I was telling everybody that we did this a couple weeks ago, and then I said it was kind of like a first attempt miss where the bar was shaking, everything was pretty good, and it was a really fun podcast. And then I said, the production crew, which is me, screwed it up because I remember something happened and I stupidly hit the pause button. And then I got up and did something and came back and forgot to unpause. So we lost all the rest of the time, so that when I went to produce it, there was like 4 minutes of us talking from an hour and a half, right? So completely butchered first attempt, but here we are. I have the record button. We're recording and I'm not touching nothing. So
all right, let's go.
It should be good to go. We talked about a lot of things last time, but it wouldn't hurt to go back over them now. You're a freshman at Fresno Pacific, right?
Yeah, freshman.
Is that how it's Fresno Pacific, or is it Pacific University at Fresno, or how do they say it?
You just call it Fresno Pacific.
Fresno Pacific. And you are primarily a high jumper. Do you do long and triple also?
Yeah, so I'm pure jumper. I could be a high jumper only if I really wanted to, but right now I do triple jump and occasional long jump as well.
Right.
Mostly,
So I was telling everybody as a preamble that we're coming upon the conference championship. So that involves both you and at Fresno Pacific and Eli Caltrader at Sacramento State, right? And then my jumper, Zach Velasco, who's down here at Vanguard. Excuse me, this is Vanguard's first year in this conference, their first year at the D2 level. Elevated all their sports up.
What's the name of the conference that Eli's in? His is like some D1 right nearby.
Oh, I thought he was in yours. Okay, well, you guys had the 2 biggest jumps in the area, so if he's Sac State is D1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Concordia is another school that's kind of like same colors, maybe.
How about Westmont? Is Westmont in there?
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
Mhm.
because Westmont was in the GSAC with us, and then Golden State, I guess they call it Golden State Athletic Conference, and then you know what is it? There's so many of the other schools around. Azusa's been out for a while. They've been D2 for a while, and then Biola, Chapman. They're all kind of in the area, but not necessarily in that conference. Occidental. So I'm not sure who's in what conference, but I did see your name on the list earlier this season with the top jump. I don't know why I thought Eli was there, but you did get to meet Eli because you're relatively close up there. So that's pretty cool. And you guys are both quote unquote alumni of Sky High and Fly Jump Lab because we did get to work together for a while. Um,
True.
so here you are, and you're the number one ranked jumper. And as I remember, there was quite a spread between you and anybody else. Has anybody started to close that gap up a little bit?
Yeah, so we got one guy from Azusa Pacific, and his PR is actually pretty close to mine. It's like 209, I think.
Uh-huh.
So it's like 610 and a quarter. And he just did that last season, and then this season he's been like kind of floating around 2 meters. So
Right.
he's good. I think he did have one 6'9" jump, so he's pretty close. I mean, we don't. I've never seen him jump, so I don't know. Like,
Yeah. I might have. We were down at San Diego Mesa a couple, not San Diego Mesa, I'm sorry, UC San Diego State maybe. It's my first time ever. I can't remember. I think I've been to UCSD before, so this might have been San Diego State. And we had a meet down there, and I did see a guy that I'd never seen before from from Azusa.
okay.
Mostly for the last 3 years coaching Vanguard. Before this year, I've seen Azusa Pacific women. I don't remember any men. They had quite a group of really tall gals high
Yep.
jumping there.
Oh,
So
they got some really high level high jump women. Like they're
yeah,
like stacked. Like they're gonna go one, two,
yeah,
three, five or
right.
something at conference.
So that's always going on there. But I did see a guy that I was a little bit impressed with. He may have been coming off an injury or so. Who knows?
Yeah.
But okay, so you got that going on, and then did you qualify for the conference finals in the long and the triple also? You gonna triple
Yeah.
up?
So I'm for triple jump. I'm ranked third in our conference, and then for long jump, I think I still need to do like the finals on Friday, and depending on like if I get top 9 marks, I go to Saturday.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, well, that's Zach's going to get an eyeful of you then because he's going to try the long jump as well this week.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if he's gotten an official mark and they either used one of their wild cards or what. Maybe one jump. It hasn't been you
right.
know, an outstanding long jump season, but he's hopeful. He's pretty
Right.
fast and light, so if they can get him on the board.
Yep. Yeah.
Our other jumps coach. I've been primarily high jumps this year. So let's see what else. That's coming up then. So at that point, you guys are not on probation. Like I know that the NC2A and all its wisdom takes the smaller schools, and when they move up into the bigger pond, they make them ineligible,
No,
which
that sucks.
doesn't make any sense to me at all. If you were a big school, and this is going to start happening, this would make more sense to me. Some of these big schools with the new roster limits are actually talking about dropping down divisions because they're going to have less people on the team and not
Oh
able
yeah,
to compete at
yeah.
that level, blah blah blah, right?
They
So if you
made
go
me
from
like
D1 down to D2,
yeah,
yeah, or D2 down to D3, that would make sense to me to put a team like that on probation because you used to be in a big pond or
right.
a small pond or however you want to look at it, but a bigger school. So yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
Vanguard doesn't have anything to look forward to, but I don't think you guys are on any kind of probation, are you?
No, yeah, we're not. We're kind of on like this season. We kind of had like a restriction in our budget, so we didn't get to go to indoor nationals for D2.
Really?
We got to have a whole indoor season, but we just
Right.
didn't get to go to nationals. But
Yeah.
I think now that we've kind of like proven ourselves as an indoor team, as a threat, now next season we
Okay.
have a chance for everyone to go to nationals for
Right.
indoor. That's pretty exciting.
So
Yeah.
would oh man, what was the question? Oh, what did you jump indoors and did you qualify for indoor nationals?
Yeah, so it was a pretty crazy year for D2 this indoor year. I mean, like Eli Kosiva went 7'6" and a half, and like
Yeah.
couple dudes over like 7'3",
230, right? 230, 7'6.5". Yeah.
230. Yeah. So I mean, it's like, how come the NC2A leader is a D2 guy? It's kind of crazy, but
Well, Grand Valley, they're loaded. They got four or five guys. We talked about that before. They got three guys they sent to the trials. They just picked up Marcus Gelpi. Did you ever meet Marcus up there? You guys crossed
yeah, I'm surprised I've never met him, but I've definitely kept in touch with him on Instagram, and it's just
Yeah.
like he's really a cool guy. Everybody who has met him is always like, "Yeah, I love that guy." It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
well, he's like a three-time guest on the pod, and we've talked all kinds of times. I forget. I believe we just kind of I followed one of his jumps or something like that he posted, and it went from there. So yeah, he's very engaging, very positive. I think he's got a great situation there at Grand Valley State, because they're just loaded, got a great coach, good talent. So
but yeah, so, yeah, I wanted to send you some footage of my
yeah,
practices.
do it. We can always edit out later or whatever. So
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you to do that, and I forgot, but we can always do that. Love watching you at work.
Yep. Yeah, because I've had a couple. Well, like last week we went to Brian Clay as a team,
Right.
um, and that went as well as honestly looking back at it, that went really well considering how crazy I moved back. I moved my mark back like a heck ton, but luckily I'm pretty powerful, so I still jumped 6'7", but I was like so far from the bar looking at it. Like my penultimate was like 10 feet, probably like 5 feet each step. It's like, I don't know
Right.
how I even made it to the bar, but I kind of tinkered with that, like, and then I fixed it and jumped 205 yesterday in practice. So
Okay.
it's like,
You-
okay. And it was clean. It was like at least an inch clearance of over 6'8.5". So it's like, all right, that's
Right.
good. Um,
So you're trying to make your penultimate step a little longer and faster, and then increase, with that, get a little bit of room away from the bar.
right. And so it kind of seems like the further back I moved, the less I was able to really get that lean and like let the lean shoot my hips in the air. It was like I felt
Right.
like I was jumping. It wasn't really like I was using the physics. And
Right.
so I had
Right.
to move up again, but like in a more like I had more like perspective of like what I'm supposed to do.
Hmm.
And so like I was able to run the curve really intentionally in practice yesterday. And like I felt like, oh yeah, like once I'm in a meet, I'll even commit harder and it's just gonna
Right.
do me
Right.
even better. So
It's interesting. I think, all of the field events are highly technical when you look at them, from javelin, pole vault, whatever, all the throws, amazingly technical, and
yeah.
they're all very sequential. You have to go from the beginning to the end. It's like, and I don't want to in any way suggest that sprinting isn't difficult or it's not technical or not challenging, but it is very repetitive. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as, yeah, I got to learn how to get out of the blocks, and that's different than once I'm up and just blasting off. I see here you sent the video. Okay. So I need to send these, download them on my phone and whatnot. But the technical aspect, it's just there's so many things that go into high jumping, and then you
Yeah.
can get as technical as you want. I've done that. I've gone and really delved into everything, and then it's funny because some people are very technically oriented. Yeah, the running story here, for those of you that are listening the first time and catching Malachi Carrasco, his research and thirst for knowledge and training are legendary. Especially to me, I tell everybody, I go, I've lost track of how many times when I'm looking at my feed, and if you were to look at the Sky High and Fly Jump Lab feed, you would see athlete after athlete after athlete, and trainers and coaches and speed experts and plyometric experts and explosive experts. Whatever I think can possibly help me. And if there's something that I really like, I'll try to implement it. And there's so many times that I'll go to a certain place and I'll be like, oh my God, I've never seen anything quite like this before. And invariably, I mean, I think I might beat you to it one time out of 100. Most of the time, when I look at the bottom, it already says liked by Malachi Carrasco. Like it's like, Kilroy was here. It's like his signature. I'm like, oh, you got me again, Malachi. So, that is to your credit. And, the thing is, some people are very technical and they can break it down and figure it out and add it in. And then there's other athletes and even other coaches that you'll meet that just they can't explain how they did it. They don't really know how they did it. They just did
Yeah.
it. So that if you say,
Yeah.
"Hey, what do you want me to do?" They'll be like, "Just run faster and get over it." It's like, and you're
Yep.
like going, "Okay, that's good advice. I got to run faster and I got to get over the bar. Okay, how do I do that again?" And you're like, "Here, let me show you." And then they just jump over the bar. You're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." You make it look so easy, and they might not have any idea how
I mean, I
they
think
just run and do it.
that's part of high jump is that, and even just all the jumping events. But I mean, high jump's a little more. It's kind of like I call it like a miscellaneous event because it's like you got to run weird. You got to kind of have to have a different body type than most track athletes, and it's just kind of unpredictable who's going to be good at high jump. But the main thing is that like rhythm and like instincts gets people over bars. It's not really like perfection. Like perfection helps, but like the best guys are usually just very confident and very comfortable with like how they can run. Like it's not really like they're thinking about anything, but they're just able to just go execute what they know. And even if it's
Right.
not much, it's like
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell some people too. I've had some experiences like one of my favorite athletes that well, I'll give you an example. Back in 1984, I was a sophomore in college at UCLA. And that was my first year jumping over 7 feet. I crept up to 7'2", and all of a sudden I was looking at the Olympic trial height, which was 7'4" and a quarter back then, I think, which is 224. And so I'm like, that wasn't even in my mindset at the beginning of that year. I jumped 6'8" as a freshman and had a terrible year. I had jumped lower than I had my senior year in high school.
yeah,
So I was just struggling. And then I lifted weights a lot. And all of a sudden I had some pop and just boom. And when I got 7'2", I got put on scholarship. So I mean, I was kind of fat, a little bit satisfied, real happy. So I wasn't like, Olympics, blah, blah, blah. But I watched the Olympics like everybody else. When I went home, I did try. I went to a couple meets after Pac-10s and tried to get a qualifier, and it didn't work out.
yeah,
And I was kind of running out of gas. I hadn't planned on the season being that long, and there was a lot of things I didn't know what I was doing.
right,
So I was all right, and I watched the Olympics like everybody else, and I was fascinated. 1984, it's here in the U.S. They did the Olympic trials at the Coliseum. They came back and ran the Olympic finals, for track and field at the Coliseum. It was
yeah,
awesome. Rayford Johnson brought in the torch. He's an ex-UCLA guy. There
yeah,
were athletes and coaches all over the place in the Southland. They were using UCLA to train. I got to meet people. It was great. And I watched Mogenberg, who was from West Germany, win the high jump. And he was not favored to win, I don't believe, although he had been jumping well. I think Sjoberg was probably everybody's pick from
yeah.
Sweden, who had
Easily,
ended up jumping 7'11" in his career.
right,
And I believe won other championships, indoors, outdoors. I'm sure he got other medals other than a silver. I could be wrong,
yeah,
but he was favored. And then the Chinese jumper, Zhu Chinhua, that I ended up getting a chance to jump against, which is a long story and an interesting one. But he was in the Olympics and came in third, and had jumped 7'9" at that time. So I think that's what 8 3/4, 236. So I think he jumped 237, and
yeah. I think,
he got third, and then Dwight Stones got fourth, and Doug Nordquist got fifth.
yeah,
Well, I remember thinking back in the day that I'm sorry, Mogenberg was just tall and skinny, which he was. He was 6'8", and if he weighed more than 160 pounds, I don't know anything about weight because when you look at pictures of him, and I've seen stuff of his on Instagram, I'm like, man, that dude was like cadaverly thin, like just
yeah,
he was a stick, like perfect high jump body. And so I used to think as a single armor that he just kind of flailed his arms up and threw his head over there, and he was just so skinny that he would get over.
right,
And, when I broke him down on film, I finally saw some video that I could watch because, again, it was Instagram because everything that I'd seen on regular TV, if you did happen to make a videotape of it, it was super grainy and terrible, and the
yeah,
angles were horrible. So it was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and they did their typical job. They showed like 5 jumps, one from Mogenberg, one from Joberg. I don't even think they showed Zhu Chenhua. Then they showed one from Stones, and I don't even know if they showed Doug. I think they showed Doug in the preview or in the trials or the
yeah,
qualifying, but not in the final. So it's like it's really shoddy, and I never got a real good look at Mogenberg. I'm like, he's just tall and skinny, right? I don't
hmm,
think he's that technically that good. And I saw the video of him on Instagram, and man, he gets his knee up and across, and he's hitting vertical, and he got away with some stuff because of his body type, and that's where, like you were talking about before, some guys just don't fit. You watch Jordan Randall jumping 7'2.5", from the middle of our country in Illinois, and he's just like, he's 5'8". I mean, he's 5'8", and he hits his arm straight. He does everything really well because he's getting everything he can out of his frame.
Yeah.
And then you see these other guys that are just, gigantic. And that was the funny thing when I broke down, who's the other guy from the Ukraine? Bondarenko.
Bondarenko, yeah.
To me, and no offense to Bondarenko, I watched his training videos. His training stuff is just, I've seen him hold a 25-pound plate and do some jump switches, like jump lunges back and forth. I've seen him using what looks like one of the lightest possible exercise bands, seated against the wall and doing a leg extension. I mean, you look at his stuff and you're like, okay, why are they even showing this, right? I mean, if you look at Brandon Stark's stuff, he's doing incredible lifts and he's doing hurdle bounding. He's doing all this. I've stolen so much from him, I can't even tell you. And when I watch Bondarenko, I'm like, what did Bondarenko do? I'm like, he's an unbelievably good jumper, but I'm like, he's 6'8". He runs like a deer. When he takes off, the takeoff mechanics are nothing that I've been teaching all the girls that I'm trying to get to do single. He all kind of throws his arms over here. And then, at 6'8", with his arm over his head, I go, he's got to be over 8 feet tall. So all he really does is kind of reach for his heel, but he doesn't punch his hips. It's not a thing of beauty, and you're like, 7'11" and a half. It's 7'11".
We argue with that,
What are you going to say? It's like, okay, his technique isn't fantastic. I'm like, well, maybe if he'd have had really good technique, who knows? With that talent, maybe he jumps 8'3" or something. He was another perfect high jump body guy. The one thing I do use him for is sprint technique. If you watch him, I've seen on Instagram, nice photo of him just running by. Beautiful, high side, perfect cycling running. Just can't possibly be any better. Pristine.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an amazing mix of, highly talented and highly trained, and sometimes just unbelievably talented, that figured out, like you said, how to jump high. So what are you thinking, man? First of all, here, I got sidetracked. Let me, I did download these to my phone, so I'm going to send them to my computer so we can look at them. Here's Malachi's latest. These are training videos, right?
Yes, one's from yesterday, my best jump from yesterday. And then those other two are the same jump from Brian Clay, which is the 201.67.
Okay, awesome. So you did jump at Brian Clay, and that was where was Brian Clay at?
I said Azusa Pacific.
That's what I thought. Yeah, Azusa was the same. The reason I really wanted to get there too. You had 2 days, right? It was Friday, Saturday, and I remember that place is packed. Like when you get there, was it as crowded as I remember? Because there are people everywhere in that high jump area, in between jumps. It's like they have trouble keeping people out of there. It's like, hey, watch out. There's a high jumper coming. It's like, they don't care. I mean, it's wall to wall people. And it's because the athletes are down on the track. And then I think all the friends of the athletes go down on the track, and there's nobody saying you can't come down here.
Yeah, that's how it was.
And the stands are packed. So it's almost like it's overflow. It's like they don't have anywhere else to go. So yeah, that place is a wild house. But so all right, I think I sent one in. Let me double check. Let's get Malachi on screen. Way more interesting than talking with Coach. Let's see what else we got. That was one. Okay, yeah, I remember that place. I recognize that. All right, here we go. Send copy with airdrop. Aha, Troy's accept. Open. Let's go save the downloads. Yeah. Okay, we got that one. All right, I got one. And okay, let's go. I might not have done the first one right. I am so old when it comes to this stuff. You guys, all you young guys are like, oh, you just do it like this. Like, yeah. Okay, accept, save the downloads. That's 2 out of 3. And where's the last one? Today, yeah, those are in order. Okay. Wait. Malachi Carrasco, Troy's MacBook Air. Accept. Why every single time? Like, there's got to be a way to just skip that. Okay. So there we go. We got 1, 2, and 3. This, these, MEL1, MEL2. Rename them real quick. Just because I don't know who makes up all those letters. MEL3. Okay, and then we go grab them all. And we move them. Nice. All right, we're getting closer. Okay, we're ready. So I'm going to share screen with Malachi Carrasco. And, oh, that was weird. Okay, I'm always doing stuff. I don't know how I did it. How is that possible? Okay, let's make that one bigger. That's you there. So annoying. So annoying. Oh, there we go. Share. Boom. Share. We go to that. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna make this.
Yeah,
Gotta make this smaller. Can I cut that? Post to 10 zoom. There we go. Okay, why won't that just move? There. All right. Sorry.
So
Way user error as usual. Okay, let's make that bigger. All right, so we're sharing share desktop and share. Is this the desktop? Okay, it is. I just got to move this out of the way. That's so weird. Okay, so we've got Malachi 1, and you just tell me if you got the one you want to go through.
yeah, this is a good one to start because this is last Friday, so I was jumping, and my mark was set at about 57 feet, but I think my foot was like in front of it every time, which is kind of not a big deal because I was too far anyways. But
Oh yeah.
I had to do a lot of things right in that jump because I was so far from the bar. It kind of forced me to hit vertical real quick.
Yeah, it does that. And the other thing that I noticed though is it looks to me like you learned how to let your knee do its work. So that knee comes up and then you just keep riding and your head and your upper body are well up over the bar before you really go for your layout. And your head has obviously broken the plane here, the vertical plane of the bar, because when you pull your shoulders towards your feet, you really come down. So you might not have got your head and your feet on the same level. It's pretty close. So what was his height?
So that was 6'7". So
Okay.
I
So
mean,
2 meters, 201.
yeah, 201, and that was. I mean, I was way over that, but I mean, at the next height, I needed a more rotation because I was too far. So I was basically like kind of hitting vertical, and then the bar is still in front of me, and so I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? So I throw my head back, but then my calves kept bringing it
Right.
down. It's nine.
Right. So you're a little bit too far out for the speed that you were at or whatever for how
Yeah,
much you hit. Yeah.
it wasn't quite giving me enough lean to like
It's
rotate around the bar.
yeah, it's rare. Like I've made this joke before, but it's very rare that I will tell my athletes that they're too far out, but it can happen. It
Yeah.
can,
And I
especially
mean,
if you're
yeah,
not really running your curve fast enough and we're moving back because the bar's going up and all that. And sometimes you just, you lay a little bit of an egg, you don't really go fast enough, or maybe you're running into a wind. Uh,
hmm
fatigue can play a factor with all that. So, okay, so this looks like a training jump.
yeah,
And
it was practice.
this is the practice of you working on that same approach, right?
So this is uh, 4 feet closer. This mark.
Okay. So now what
Yeah.
was there something about this jump in particular that made you want to go back farther?
So no, this was yesterday, and so I kind of went back to the drawing board after not being able to clear 6'9" at Brian Clay. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, like what? Well, maybe I need to move up. I'm not gonna say move up so much. I'm just gonna move up until it feels right. And so I kept kind of experimenting with the bungee. I
Yeah.
took like 3 jumps at like different like distances, and I was like, oh, this one feels a lot better.
Yeah.
So then I put the bar up, and then I started kind of moving it, and then I moved it up a little more, just a little, like and I found the spot where I was like, oh shoot, like this mark feels good, and that's when I hit that jump where it was just like everything
So
felt good.
is this an 8 step you're doing here? Run into an 8?
Yeah, so I do a little two like
Yeah.
skipping and then 8 step run.
Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Gather and boom. Nice lean back angle. Hard to quantify here, but you young jumpers, if you want to jump well like Malachi, notice how far behind his foot his head is here, leaning back. You drop a straight line down from your head down to the ground here, you see a lot of room between, your head and your foot. So if you put your head basically right on top of your foot, when you're putting it on the ground, you're running at high speed. You literally cannot stop your upper body from going in. The
Yeah.
faster you're going, the more that happens. So this lean back angle is huge. And then right here at toe off, if you're looking, you can see he's now left the ground. That angle there, you can see a slight, what I would call a very slight blow through vertical. And it
Mhm.
might be the angle because if you compare you to the standard,
Yeah.
you look
Although
like
I think I could definitely improve like that. Like that
Mhm.
feeling was great. Like it was smooth, but like if I could have kind of blocked a little harder, it would have helped me go up even more, you know?
Right. Well,
So yeah.
that's something we'll talk about here in a second because I have one video I'm going to throw in there to watch with you. I want to get your opinion on because it's something that I think was just solidified in my brain, something that I've been teaching for a while that I've never really, I don't want to say I've never corroborated it or never had it confirmed, but it was like something that I believed in so strongly that I just said, this is the way it's got to be. And, when
Mhm.
I finally saw, somebody else doing it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I was expecting was the case. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I put this in here now. We're going to look at yours and say, but I want to go make sure I send this in. This one should do it. Let's go airdrop, go. Okay, accept, save, and
I
maybe
mean, I think
one
one
more.
thing I like feel like I've learned throughout this season is that like you can clear bars from completely different marks.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
your body will get over those bars, you know.
Yeah.
Um it's just because like this mentality that a lot of jumpers have is that this is my mark. I had a good day with this mark. I'm never changing it, you know.
Right.
And it kind of gets you like makes you stuck in a box because now you're like you don't really want to change anything, but it's like what if you find something better, or what if you're able to execute something else better with a different mark? And so it's like it's nice to like for me at least, even though I keep jumping, like I kept jumping 6-7 for like a month, it's like every time I was like learning something else about my approach, and learning that I could still jump like 2 meters even when I'm too far or too close or like
Right.
too wide. Like it's nice to see that, and then kind of like I get to like map out my mark. I get to map out like, okay, when I'm right here, this doesn't look good, but when I'm right here, this looks good.
Right.
And that's it's like you find what is actually a good mark instead of just finding what worked one time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
hear that. All right.
mhm.
So, here, they're just images too, but they're amazing. So I saw a post, I'm sure you saw it before I did, on Instagram of Tamberry's 2016 season, and it had every single jump, that I apparently the highest jump of every meet that he was in, right?
Yeah.
And it started with this. There was a video. Oh, this is you though. Wait, no, no. Who's this? This is Kirsten. Wow, that's interesting.
Oh yeah. He's like another D2 guy.
Yeah, Kirsten's awesome. We just did a podcast like right after you and I. Okay, this is you again. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the same angle or is that another angle? That looks
So,
almost.
so this is me jumping a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah. We just.
This mark is a little closer than the one I used yesterday. This is like probably too close mark, like this
Oh, I
mark.
didn't put in downloads. I moved it to the desktop. Okay, good. All right. Crack. Swear sometimes I'm on crack. Okay. So this is the first shot that I got off of that video. So
Oh,
I've learned how to stop it, right? So
yeah.
this is Tim Berry. It jumps at 236 to World Indoor Championships. It was a make, as I remember, and there's a video that goes with this that has all these, but I just stopped them. So if you look right here, his toe off. Some of
Yeah.
the things I love talking about is that knee drive up and across. You can
Right.
see his knee has passed his hip, which is hard. Some people just barely get the knee to
Yeah.
even block your view a little bit. He's completely passed. And if you were to drop a line straight from that leg up and out, and now his upper body's pretty vertical, but the leg itself is actually what I'm going to coin the term of what I call inside vertical. He is actually pushing back into the curve and succeeding in jumping, in my mind, kind of a little bit away from the bar. You
Yeah.
say, hey, push away from the bar. Everything should push away from the bar. Well, he's hitting inside vertical here, so that has to be possible. It's not
Hmm.
easy at all. It takes some
No.
tremendous amount of strength and
You
force.
gotta be really light too. I
Got
mean,
to be
think about
super
how.
light and fast. All those things are required for sure. So that's the knee drive. Watch this one is the second one, which is just like the kicker for me. Um, this is at 239.
Wow.
It's an even
Okay.
better shot of that
Yeah.
inside out. The knee drives all the way across again, nowhere near the bar. Surprisingly close, actually, for this height. So there's that, right?
And think this is his PR. I mean, this is what he jumped, and
Yeah,
he's kind of close, but this is his best jump ever. It's
for
like
this particular height. But see, in my mind, you can get away with close if you're doing this,
if you're
right?
doing,
If you're
yeah,
hitting inside vertical, then you're not going to swing by. If you swing past complete vertical, maybe even just 2 or 3 degrees towards
yeah,
the bar, you're going to need more room.
you
You
will.
have to be farther out. And that's okay too. If you can figure out how to do that, that's fine.
Yeah,
I remember jumping against a guy named Rick Noji when he was coming out of high school up in Washington. He was already jumping 7'5" or 7'6" indoors, and he was 5'11", 6 feet, and was super fast. And he told me, I said, "How do you jump 5'6", 7'5", 7'6" indoors?" He said, "I get really far out and run super fast." And just hammer the takeoffs. Like, okay, that
yeah,
made sense to my physics mind because I've taken physics at UCLA. I'm like, okay, yeah, we studied um, ballistic trajectiles and stuff like that, and you study
right.
takeoff angles, and yeah, so it all makes kind of sense. But yeah, that what you're talking about, what we were talking about when we were looking at that other angle, and then this one too is that takeoff angle right there. You can see that line going straight up your leg, but then the upper body's past, right? And
Yep,
so if we're not hitting pure vertical, we need a little bit of room.
we do.
That's one of the things
Yep.
that you and I have talked about this before. And then the other thing that I'm a big proponent of is just leaving, letting your knee drive do it work. It's work. If you watch the Olympics, I was blown away by you know McEwen's first jump. He opened at 7-1 in the final, and
Yeah,
he had a foot of air. It was ridiculous how easy that jump was. And I've never and I've seen I watched Sotomayor open at 7-2 when he came over here right after jumping 8 feet. He jumped at the UCLA meet, and I got to jump there, and I was just blown away. I've never seen anybody jump that well, while I was standing there. He jumped 7-2, 7-4, 7-6, 7-8, 220, 225, 230, 235. And at 240, he kicked it off with his heels, right? At 7'10" and a half. Now he would hit, pretty much vertical. He didn't get his knee quite around. He always kind of went over a little bit sideways, but
yeah,
what are you going to say? His knee is just, ridiculous. But
exactly.
I never saw Sotomayor ever throw that head back early. He just rode the knee up and let it go all the way up to the
Yeah,
top. And sometimes you just kind of lean back at the top and spin
would
over. It's like
would
very
hit
delayed.
or he just get that knee
Yeah.
there. And just, he wouldn't
Yep.
really use his head; he used his shoulders.
McEwen got his knee a foot over the bar and just kind of leaned back. And then Kerr's winning jump at 236 or 237, whatever it was kind of the same. It looked to me like he just said, "All right, that's it. I'm done with this jump off." And when he ran up, you just see speed and nice gather, and then huge arms, and then mega knee drive. And it looked to me like at that height, his knee was a good 4 inches over the bar.
Yeah,
And again, I didn't see him really try to hammer the layout. It was almost like he didn't want to take a chance that he was going to get in a bad position. He just kind of said, "Well, I'm just going to pop my hip over a little bit here, and that's going to be it." So
yeah,
that's a huge point. And I wanted to bring this up because in your earlier jump that we were watching, this one, I think your patience has gone up since we started working. Because I remember used to be the, head back around your heels, like a quarter inch off the ground kid. I was like, man, this guy's so flexible, and I'm sure you remember me going, okay, let's just wait, let
Yeah.
that knee go for a while. And
Right.
here you can see it, bang, there's that knee. It's up about bar height, within an inch or two, one way or the other. That's my rule. I say, hey, let's milk everything we can out of that knee and
Yeah.
then go for the layout. Because if you don't, then you're not going to have much flight. And, as the bar goes up, flight's got to get bigger and bigger. So, that's where I see the biggest change in you right there is that just that patience. So this was 201, but you said you weren't happy with it. So since you didn't get 209, what was the next
Yeah.
height you tried?
206.
206? Yeah.
Six. Yeah.
So you weren't happy and you moved your run back up, right?
Hmm.
That's interesting that you say that because I'm constantly fighting that battle with the athletes because I'm trying to get you guys to jump back into the curve, which is when I've just the last 2 weeks now, ever since I saw this video, I'm like, I know that this can be done. I just watched it, so I'm like, what are we doing at the takeoff itself? Is I'm like, not just your arms, not just the knee drive, and not just the body angle, right? But even your left leg
Yeah.
needs to push away. It's like
Right.
back and away from the bar as you're driving everything else up and away. And I'm like, picture like Superman or Ms. Marvel or somebody just literally putting that foot on the ground and then going the
Right.
opposite direction. Like
Yeah.
because the forces are so great. You guys you get taller and faster and stronger. And so when you're running at the bar at high speeds, you're like a little bullet train that really is hard to stop. You're trying to deflect it. It's almost like hitting a pop-up, where you don't quite get all of it and you just deflect that speed and pop straight up. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what I want. Yeah, I just want to deflect it a little bit. So or reroute it. I talk about that sometimes too, however you get the point across. So that tilt, lean back, lean left, tilt left. That's like that three directions. Have you been working? I don't know if we talked about this last time because I botched the whole thing. Did we talk about your plant foot, the plant foot angle? Do you like
Yeah. I
right
don't
where
know.
you're at? Are you
If
trying to hit the back corner? Are you trying to aim for the front standard? Like where do you like it?
Well, let's take a look at that jump where that one I just sent you, the practice film.
Okay. Desktop share. It's gonna move you back. I guess I just gotta move this. So you can see this, right? I don't stop share. We are screen sharing. Okay. So which one? This one or
I think the one above that one.
this one? No.
So
Double click.
yeah, that one.
Okay. Let me get rid of this one so we're not confused, along with all the other stuff on my desktop. I wish this would enlarge. I don't know how to do this. Let's see. No, that wasn't it. But this. No. Apparently I can't make it any bigger. I've tried this before. I'm like,
It's because it's a short one. Like,
yeah. All
well,
right.
I
So
record it, yeah, sideways. So.
so what part did you want to look at?
Okay, so yeah, let's look at the foot here. So like my second to last step, and then into my last step. So kind of like that step, pushing.
Yes.
I'm trying to push at a 45-degree angle to the bar.
Right.
I don't want it to be down the bar any more than like maybe like a 55 degree. Like yeah. Because once
Yeah.
it gets above that, like now you're kind of going too far down the bar. You're not really gonna get you're gonna get over the bar. You're gonna come down on it. So you want it to be just enough where you could have like a 50-degree angle,
Yeah.
basically pointing towards the back of the pit, back corner.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there's another one I'm going to refer you to, and I know that you've talked with this young lady because she made a comment. I tried to get her on a podcast, but I know she's actually done some work with you, and that's Anika McPherson.
Yeah.
So when you see, as I did, and I'm sure you've seen it because you see everything I get to, she posted that one video where it's an indoor meet and the bar is only like at 5'7". Okay. I think it's like 170. And she is running indoor, and it looks like I'm going to place the width of her curve at about 3 feet, maybe 4. Okay. So she's in lane 1, running straight down the track. And then the bar looks like if there was another lane, which there isn't, it would be lane 0, and it would be about that width that she came down. And when
Yeah.
she plants her foot, it can't be any less than 60 degrees. It's not a 45. She's not running at the back corner. She looks like she's going to hurdle it. Like she's running right straight ahead, right? She
Yeah.
leans back, turns that foot the tiniest little bit, and then bang, that knee goes across, the arm goes up. She's a mile out, which
Yeah.
helps. And she's only 5'4" and weighs, she can't weigh more than 100 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't,
She's about
I mean,
110.
maybe 110 at her peak, but
Right.
she's only 5'4". She's not built like a giant. She's just
Nope.
tiny, fast, and light.
Yeah.
And
Very
that
powerful.
taught me so much that I used to argue with people that said that you should point at a 45. I'm like, not in my experience. I was taught to have my foot plant parallel to the bar, and I could get my knee around, and my knee drive was always my best thing. But I
Yeah.
didn't realize why I couldn't stop myself from washing into the bar. So that was an eye opener for me because I'm like, I go, well, if the foot plant's at 45, it's really the second phase. I'll tell you the first phase, another guy that you might have seen. Um, Hers at the 60-degree angle coming across was really eye-opening because she got all the way around, got great rotation, everything else. I'm just like, I was mind blown. I literally had to look at it a bunch of times because I'm like, okay, this just blows everything that I was thinking out of the water.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend that particular plant angle to someone who is much taller and much heavier and much
Yeah.
faster because I think it's still too difficult to get the knee around. I think it could
Yeah.
only work for someone like Anika.
Right.
But the 45-degree thing brought back to my mind the fact that in 2019, before you and I started working, Jack Wiseman, we were up at that stadium of your guys up there, Buchanan, for state finals.
Oh
And
yeah.
no, I take it back. It was at CIF, the Masters meet. So anyway, Jack jumped 6'10" there, and he looked like he's just going to walk with it. And Kyle Jenkins, I've got the jump somewhere. If I dig
Yeah.
it out, I just got to go back through the archives. He runs up, and I'm not kidding. It looks to me, Malachi, like he's 6 to 7 feet out, like he's a mile away from the bar.
Oh boy.
And 45, a true 45. Like, and I remember thinking that can't work, right? And man, he got the knee all the way around. It stopped him. He went straight up, and then the speed carried him up over to the bar. He might have been a tiny bit far out because he really went for the layout. He was very flexible. He got into that perfect position, and he
Yeah.
just caught it. And it was like one of those. It was the same kind of thing for me. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, you can't. At that time, again,
Yeah.
this is 6 years ago. I'm like, you can't plant your foot at a 45 and do that. Well, he could. And
Yeah.
like, I'm like,
I mean,
okay.
it's so it could be frustrating, but then once you understand it, it's like it's pretty interesting. Like everybody jumps differently at their best.
Yeah.
Like not everyone has the same form if they're optimized to their body.
Yes.
Um, and that's pretty cool. But that's also makes coaching high jump freaking really hard.
Yes. Yes. And that what I've found, this is something that just keeps growing in me and that's why we changed the name from camps. For one thing, I've never had a summer camp still. So it's been always jump clinics. I put on a clinic. There's kind of a theme for the day that I may have in mind, although for different jumpers, it might not really pertain to them. So I can have a group of kids doing one thing. I say, okay, you go over here and do this. This is what you need to work on. But it's like everybody's different, like you said. So I can't preach 45 because not everybody's going to be good at 45.
Yeah.
But sometimes to get them from parallel, I've found that it's easier to go aggro and make a huge change. You say, I want you to aim at 45. It's like if you tell someone to pick their knees up higher when they run. You tell someone to pick their knees up higher, they might move their knee an inch or a
Right.
half an inch higher.
Yeah. Just a bit.
Okay, we're getting there. Now continue to do that. Get your knees up even higher and get your feet to kick you in the butt. And they're looking at you like, what do you mean? I just did that. I'm like, no, you did it a little bit, so if you go for the 45 and they at least they get off of parallel, it's a minor victory, and then you can continue to show them, hey, this can work if every once in a while maybe they just happen to hit one, like you said, and I got the knee to come across and I did get air and it,
Yeah.
and the hard part, of course, like is every time you're trying something new, what's the number one complaint that you hear from most athletes? And to me, it's actually turned into music in my ears when they say that felt, stick in the word, different, weird,
Yeah.
terrible, it felt wrong, right? And I'm like, Well, that's good because that shows me that you are aware of what it is that you usually do.
Right.
You have feedback mechanisms in your body. They tell you joint angles, they tell you how things feel, they tell you how fast things are moving.
Hmm.
Everything's in there. And then when you do something different out of the ordinary, your brain says, hey, that was weird. That was different. That was markedly different than what we usually do.
Right.
That's where if it happens to be something that's really useful, and you can watch it in the video and say, hey, look, I know it felt different, but look at this position. I get that reaction a lot because, as you know, I don't necessarily teach to making the bar. In practice, if you make the bar, it's kind of a bonus, but it's not really the point of the exercise lots of times.
Right. A lot
You
of
know,
times, yeah.
I'm say, hey, leave your knee up until you, and if you leave your knee up and it gets 4 inches over the bar and you miss, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you missed. I'm going
Yeah.
to be the guy going, dude, your knee is 4 inches above the bar. Like
Hmm.
mission accomplished. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
You happen to miss that one, but you're going to make a lot more bars doing this than what
Exactly.
you were doing before. And even if it felt quote unquote weird to you, you can see the results. They work, right? So yeah,
Yep.
that's the plant angle is different. I've been trying it. You know, my 61-year-old, I'm trying to jump 5'3" like I did in the eighth grade body,
Yeah.
and I don't like it at all. It feels really strange, you know. So I'm just like, okay, there's got to be an angle, like you said. Not everybody's exactly different. You know, different limb lengths, different speeds. You know, different strengths. You know, faster, slower twitch. You know, who knows how many variables can you throw in there? You
I
know,
mean, yeah. Weight, speed, strength, height too. I
yeah,
mean, that's like think about like the curve. Like if you're a little shorter, your curve doesn't have to be as wide as a guy who's taller.
right.
And that's just something that like you kind of have to just figure out like by experimenting. I think that's the main thing though with like athletes is like don't be afraid to like try something that's like way different than what you're doing right now.
Right.
Because like, if it doesn't work, now you know it doesn't work. Now you don't have to like wonder. And then you find something that does work. Well, now you can kind of add that to what you're already
Right.
doing. You know?
Experiment with those foot plant angles, experiment with different types of arm drives. Like, you know, I've done a dissertation. I've shown people, I said, look, here's the history of the high jump. You know, the very first guy to do the high jump was Fosbury. And Fosbury's arm action was unlike anybody else's. Nobody. Now, in the time that I've been coaching, I may have coached two or three different people that do it like Fosbury did as far as how they take off the ground, which is
Yeah.
basically a long jump takeoff, right? Where the arms just switch. You know, one arm goes up, the other arm goes back, and
Right.
then he just dropped that backside arm, and the front side arm he would either swing it back or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's a true Fosbury is rare because I believe it's very body dependent. Like he was very tall, very thin, very fast, and he could get air that way. When I demonstrate it, I get nothing. I mean, I get no air ever. When I was in shape and jumping well, I could not get air doing that. So I
Yeah,
was like,
I don't know how he did it. It's kind of crazy that he invented like the technique, but then nobody really does it like him anymore.
it's very rare. You every once in a while you'll see somebody that takes off like that, when they do that, if they do get air, I won't sit there and go, no, we need to change you to a true single armor like the European single, or you know you need to learn how to use both arms because who knows how deep that runs. You know, why did they start doing that? And if they're having good success with it, I don't like to mess with those things. But
Right.
sometimes, you know, if it's their first day and they're trying it, right? You got a new kid at practice and you say, yeah, and I'll just let them run up and jump, of course, and see what they've got, you know, and sometimes the arms just don't get ready of any kind of arm drive at all. So I'm like, okay, you have no arm drive. So we're going to start from there. These are your options. And, you know, that's a hard one because, you know, you're creating it from scratch, you know, basically. But yeah, you can play around with that. For me, the only constant is that knee drive across, no matter what style of jump you have. If you don't, excuse
Bless you.
me,
Ooh, bless you.
um, if you don't get that knee up and across, no matter what kind of arm action you're doing, and that's the one thing I've found. I call it the true universal equalizer. You know,
Right.
and some guys can. Sotomayor, Charles Austin, a little bit. You know, they get the knee. I got. To say I got one more in there. Um, they they might not get it all the way around and across, but it's definitely up and it's pretty across, you know.
Right.
And again, I might say the argument go, well, if they had gotten the elbow all the way and across, maybe Sotomayor makes 8 feet 2 inches, and maybe Charles Austin, does clear 8 feet. All right, hang
Oh,
on just for a sec. I gotta blow my nose.
oh yeah.
I might have to edit that out, but
Yep.
hold on. Oh my goodness. I don't know where that came from. All right. Hopefully that's the end of that. So I see you looking down. What do you got? You got something
So
else you want to share?
I'll send this over to you. It's just one of my jumps from um, one of our first outdoor meets of the
Okay.
Stack State invite. But I was a little close to the bar, I think, at this meet. Yeah, just a little bit. But and so you could kind of see the slight difference in my penultimate compared to what I did yesterday. And
Okay.
then, I mean, if you just look at like that jump and then you compare that to my jumps from Azusa, it's like, wow, like I feel like I've been able to jump a different way each meet because I've been like changing things.
Right.
And so it's kind of teaching me like what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And so I don't have to force myself to do the things I'm not good at, you
I'm
know?
still only seeing the three. So I've
Yeah, I
got,
still gotta send it to you real quick. Sky high. Where is it? T for Troy. We'll just do this. Troy. Here we go. All right. Sending over. But yeah, so it's like I think that finding what didn't work has kind of led to me being more confident in what I'm at right now. Like I
Mhm.
feel like I finally kind of like put it right. I put the tail on the donkey. I'm like,
Right.
where is it? So it's pretty like you know giving me like a confidence boost because like I just had my best high jump practice yesterday. I was almost clearing 6'10". Just my calves would hit it like a couple times.
Right.
Like, all right, like I've never
That's
jumped that.
without adrenaline. Yeah. So,
Hmm. It's like as long as I can just execute, like I know I always execute better in a meet, then it's gonna be a good day at conference. But
absolutely.
all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I sent that
Here we
video.
go. Let's see. I'm gonna call that now. Four. Some downloads. Okay, we're still sharing, so I'm gonna move that here. All right, so this is this guy out of the way. A little bit bigger. Work with me, work with me. Here we go. Ooh, tiny bit bigger.
There we go.
Okay, that's that. Now, all right, so and not a run-in. So, oh no, there is. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 10 step.
Yeah.
So,
So that's kind of like something new. I tried that meet just to see what would a 10 step do. I
right.
didn't really like it. I think
Did you feel
it's
you're
like,
too fast or
yeah, I didn't like the speed. Kind of felt hard to control.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Wow. And here you got your arms out, right? So
Hmm.
if you, I actually talked about this with Kevin Schmidt. He's another one that went off to Cal Poly Slow, and
Yeah.
we did a back over one time where I said, leave your hands back like you're doing one of the back bridges. I said, don't get them back to your hips. I don't want to
Mhm.
drop your hips. I just want to try to get you to spin. And
Yeah.
he was pretty good at it right away, but we could only do it off of a standing back over because it was hard for him to do it off of one leg. I
Mhm.
don't think I ever got him to get his hands that high on a regular jump, you know.
Yeah.
So where both hands are like signaling touchdown, you know, like you're all the way
Right.
up, and then all of a sudden it's like either drop them or reach or whatever, or
Hmm.
both back. I'm like, well, if you can teach yourself to do like a back handspring, if you hold that back arch and spin, that's one of my new thoughts. I like that idea instead of trying to drop your hips. You see a lot of people, they say, "Oh, pull when your shoulders go back," and then when you'll see people just go like this and they'll go
Uh-huh.
that punch position. I don't like
I
bending
know.
the hips. I think it's a bad idea to bend the hips. I want to keep them fully extended and in
Yeah.
that position where you're spinning. If you're spinning,
Uh,
there's no reason to drop your hips.
one concept that I learned really young is that if you just hold everything back, like your body would just naturally kick. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
uh, and so I didn't realize that, but that was a pretty good piece of advice because I'm arch dependent. So me just worrying about
Yeah,
only holding my head back is like
yeah.
perfect. I don't have to think about anything else. Um,
Well, you've learned how to wait for sure. Because when I remember you'd have thrown your head back now, like right as your toes leaving the ground, or maybe during that.
yeah.
Now here you're waiting for your head to clear. You can see the knee still riding. It's
Mhm.
getting higher and higher and higher. It's almost bar level, and your head has gone through, so it's okay. By that, I'm trying to give my jumpers rules like they're Terminators. Like, okay, when you're running, I said, always be tall, always be cycling, always be accelerating. Those are your three laws, like three laws of robotics. When you're running in a straight line, you drop into a curve,
Yeah.
whatever. And then I'm like, always be leaning back and away, and then, as far as when do I lay out, I'm like, knee higher than the bar, if possible, and head has broken through the plane by itself. Don't throw your head back to break the plane, because then I said, well, if you do that and the knee hasn't had a chance to finish yet, and you can't do anything with your arms, then it's like
Yeah.
you got one out of the three pieces. If I
Hmm.
throw my head back and I start spinning and everything else is doing whatever it's doing, they're disconnected. And there's
Yeah.
only a few. I would put Javon Harrison as one that can literally break their layout into three different segments where he goes, head back, brings one knee up, brings the other knee up, pops
Yeah.
the
You
other one
can see
again,
it
and then
all
hits
happen
them
every
both. I
time.
mean, it's crazy, right? You can see the long jump in him where he's like doing two or three things while he's in the air. So, but most high jumpers can't, so I'm just like, let's keep it simple. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is so again, your example here was you tried the 10, and
Yep.
then what else did you get out of this other than the fact that you were going too fast?
Okay. So the speed was hard to um, use, but I was also too close to the bar with that speed. So
Yes.
maybe, yeah, maybe shortening the like to an 8 step would have been manageable at that
Right.
distance. But I think moving back would have been like the best idea because if you look at my second to last step right before the plant, I stepped a little out instead of going
Yes.
straight. It's kind
Well,
of I have to kind of make up for that being too close.
exactly. So and I've seen this tons of times. So it's a deflection move, right? Your brain says, "Hey, you're too close," so it'll radically affect what you're doing. Because if you do what you're supposed to do and you're too close, then you're planting underneath the bar. The bar's over your head, and you just crash into the pit, and it's over.
Right.
You completely wasted the jump.
Actually,
And
what happened?
this is like being pot committed, right? In no limit hold'em. Like you get to a certain point, it's a point of no return. You're either going to pull the trigger or you're not.
Yep.
If you're really going to pull the trigger, then sometimes it's like, okay, and your brain goes, okay, I'm advising against this, but okay, let's make it work, and then
Right.
all of a sudden you take that step off the curve, which you're doing, like you said, you step to your right a little bit so you can plant your foot and cut left. And so you can deflect down the bar and also give yourself a little bit of room for sure. You're trying to buy yourself what I call buying time. I
Yeah.
want to buy time to get in the air. I want to buy time so I don't have to deal with the bar right away. Yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of want to show you the difference. For me, it's not really like technique. Like I know I'll have pretty good technique through like any mark. Like I'll be able to do a lot of things right, but I see like there's a bit of jerkiness, a bit of like not fluidity about this jump and the Azusa jump. And if you just look at the jump that I had in practice yesterday, that was like the first time where my mark was just like smooth, and like I executed it right, and then I didn't have to like throw my head back at a certain time. It just kind of was there. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's not this one. Which
So I think the
this one?
main thing jumpers should be like going for is finding what is most fluid. You know, like finding what is just not nothing is difficult.
That the
It's
one you liked? This one here?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not herky jerky for sure. Smooth is definitely, and that that the rhythm is so important. It's one thing that we keep
Yeah.
coming back to, but that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yep.
And you play with that basic pattern because it's going to change. But once you have that idea, and that's why I said to always be accelerating. If you're accelerating, then you have a better chance of hitting that crescendo right at the right time.
Yep.
The stride length and everything else comes in there, though. Because I've had some people they can run that pattern, but if they're not pushing through it, then all
Hmm.
of a sudden you're just doing quick steps.
You're not
And
really
you can
moving.
you can
Yeah.
get a fake acceleration. So the
Yeah.
rhythm and the acceleration don't always go hand in hand like you would think.
Sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a fascinating thing for me. I know I'm a jump nerd. I would just sit and keep talking for hours, but it's like the whole thing. This is a real quick one too. We were talking about the far away from the bar thing. So I think
Hmm.
I may have told this story before, but Jack Weissman kind of forced me to be really, really creative and trying to get him farther away because he basically refused to move back. It was like we would talk and he would nod and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm too close to the bar." I'm like, "Yes, you are, Jack. We need to create some room for you." And so we would try to move him back. And it was like, it didn't matter what we did. He would get back to the same spot, no matter he would either lengthen his strides or do whatever. If you had a mark and he was going to run in that mark, he would just step 6 inches over it to make up the difference. It was like it didn't matter what we were doing. So
Yeah.
the thing that I realized when I looked at Jack over and over again was that really the only problem that he had was that he was too close. Because of being too close, his knee drive angle across and away and up was outstanding. It was
Right.
very good.
Yeah.
His takeoff mechanics, he didn't lean into the bar and he didn't drive his arms into the bar. He was trying to stay away. So he
Yeah.
would drive up and drive that knee across. So I was like, I thought about it later. I'm like, if I'm going to be teaching this whole push away from the bar thing, maybe I need to shove them up against the bar,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
make them do it, for a
Yeah.
while. So it was like,
That was
it
a
just
concept.
depends,
Yeah.
yeah, what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do the one thing, it's like, yeah. And I learned for some people what I call the frog in the hot water pot thing, where, if I just move you back too suddenly, you're 2 feet out, you're just going to bail because you don't think you can get there, right? So I'm going to go up and I'm going to come down and land on my head. And survival brain is very strong.
Uh-huh.
Survival brain is more firmly rooted than theoretical brain, who's, when Jack and I were talking, he's nodding. But when it came time to jump, survival brain, and this is the way we've always done this brain, takes
Mhm.
over and just
Yep.
makes you repeat the pattern because like this is what
Yeah.
we like. This is what's
Strong.
safe or whatever that is.
Mhm.
And so, to break out is difficult. So when I go, let's move 2 feet back, it's too much. And so they jump out. That's the frog in the hot water pot. If you throw a frog into a hot water pot, they just jump right out. But if you
Right.
put them in the water and you just slowly heat it up, right? A little
Right.
bit change here, and they'll stay in. So
Yeah.
my analogy from that is if I want them to stay in the drill, I very slowly creep them back. I said, just move and I used to say, my coach Elias, the little Romanian would be like, 2 steps, 2 inches was one of his favorite sayings, which was if you could 3 step a height and you go until you miss, then if you added 2 steps, you could make at least 2 more inches because
Yeah.
of the added speed. So that
Right.
was one thing. But then he also told me, and this was in my senior year at UCLA, he said, "Hey, the bar gets up to 7 feet, 7'2", 7'3", whatever. But when you're starting to really jump, he says you need to pull back a minimum of 2 inches every time, no matter what. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you do, but you're going to be carrying more speed and you need more time." And I was like, I learned that lesson fast and it always stuck. So I train from the very get-go with the kids that all the time. But for Jack, I was thinking later it would have been smarter of me since he was fighting so much when I tried to make the radical change to just go, okay, every time we start, you just got to start from the same spot. And if it's a walk, because he used to walk and then jog, he did a 4 step walk, 4 step straight, 4 step curve.
Hmm.
So, and I think it still would have been trouble with him just because he could manipulate that. But
Yeah.
if we said start from the same spot every time and you only pull back like a centimeter at a time instead of even the 2 inches, if I just because then maybe you're not going to notice that you're farther out, right?
Yeah.
That's my thought, and I have had some success doing that with certain athletes instead of making the big move, you know. And sometimes it might be like, okay, we just want to try this real quick, so let's just go for it and see if it sticks. And
Yeah.
other times it's like, no, I'm just going to back them out of there gradually and take the time, you know, to get it to work. So
Right.
one other real quick thought before I cut you loose, and we'll have to do a podcast to follow because I'm really looking forward to getting up there. I got my Friday night. I'm going to drive up, you know, the 4 whatever hour drive it is. You've made that drive down to come see me, so it's about 4 hours, right? To
Yeah.
Fresno?
About
Yeah.
4.
So yeah, I would not say I'm looking forward to the drive, but I am looking forward to getting up there and seeing you guys. So
Yeah.
get up to that meet and then we'll do a debrief. But this last idea that I had, it's kind of along the lines of, and again, it's amazing to me how good of a coach Elias was because he was one of the first coaches that I remember making me run backwards. Like we
Yeah.
would run forward and you have us run backwards, you know, and he was like, I want you to cycle going backwards, which was really different learning how
Right.
to do that. Because if you're a defensive back or you play basketball or soccer, you don't cycle when you're backing up. You
Right.
just cycle when you're running forward. So learning how to do it in reverse was interesting and I believe a deeper level of processing than just going forward would be. So if you learn how to do it backwards, you're kind of like processing it through at a different level, almost like a level, let's say 1.0 and then a 1.1 or even a 2.0
Right.
or a 1.1 left as opposed to right or backwards as opposed to forward.
Hmm.
So the other thought I had for you was one thing, and I may have mentioned it one time or not. I can't remember if your legs ever hurt you because there was one day, and it may have been my senior year, and it may have been a couple years later when I was trying for the trials in '88 when I was training with Elias. And I had a day where I was dead. My legs were dead from the left side, especially. And
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, you go. You might as well go home. You're terrible." And he goes, "No, you go jump other leg." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Jump on your other leg." And I'm like, "No." I was 26 years old. I'm like, I have been high jumping since I was 12. I go, I don't jump off my right leg, Elias. And
Yeah.
he's looking at me like I could almost see his ears lower, like Yoda. And he's like, you must learn to jump on the other. And I'm like, all right. So I begrudgingly started running and jumping from the other side. And I'm jumping like 4.6. I'm a 7.3 high jumper and I can't get off the ground from my right side.
Yeah.
So you start learning some things quickly. I'm trying to do the same things, but I'm
Right.
using the other half of my brain from a different side.
Yeah.
So you learn, I quickly tried to figure some things out and I learned eventually, I thought I had a better layout from the left and I did some other things. And I still was like, I don't get the purpose of this, because I'm 26 years old and I'm just like, I think I'm the smartest person in the room. So it's like, okay. And we went through the whole thing. And then like a week later, we had our meet and we went to a meet and it was one of those all comers meets because I'm no longer at UCLA. I'm
Yeah.
training and you have to find meets where you can. And it was a really weird thing back then because there weren't all these sites you can look up things online now. And
Right.
so I'm sitting at this all comers meet, and I think it was at Cal State Long Beach, and which is my hometown. So I was living at home training, and I'm wearing my UCLA stuff because I didn't have anything else. And it was an all comers meet. There's literally grannies on walkers out there. There's little 5-year-old kids, there's 10-year-old kids, there's a couple high school kids. I think I was the only quote unquote elite jumper. I never thought of myself as an elite jumper, but I was no longer in college and
Yeah.
the bar was starting low and I was bored and I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump off my right leg.
Yeah.
So I started at like 5 feet, I think, and I went 5 feet and the bar was going up in 3 inch increments. And the best I'd ever done in practice at that time was like 5.6, but I didn't think about it. No adrenaline, no competition. So I
Yeah.
went 5 feet, 5.3, 5.6, 5.9, 6 feet, 6.3, and I popped 6.6 off my right leg.
Wow.
I was mind blown as it was happening. but I kind of got in a groove and I was figuring some things out as I was doing it. I was like, and the great thing about it was my right leg felt fantastic because it hadn't taken all the beatings for all those years. You know, I had
Right.
a lot more pop in there than I would have ever thought. It was like,
That's crazy.
so, and I
Yeah.
finally missed, you know, at 6'6", and as soon as I made 6'6", I took one jump at 6'9", and then I flopped over to the other side and continued jumping and jumped 7 feet and almost, you know, took good jumps at 7'3". But I've
Yeah.
thought about that as just an anecdote, you know, to
Right.
share for those days when, you know, for whatever reason, you know, you're
Yeah.
struggling, you got dead legs, you got this, you got that. It's like something's not clicking. It's almost like a reboot
Yeah.
and use the other side of your brain day, you know, whatever
It's
that
like
is.
you're coaching yourself because
Yeah.
you're basically teaching an athlete who's never done this before, right? I've never jumped off my right in competition. So it's like you're coaching yourself
Yeah.
starting from scratch.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, for some reason, you may process a certain thing better with the other side of your brain. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, you know, maybe I'll have a better lean angle. Maybe I'll, you know, understand a different part of the approach better from the other side, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So,
I can see that.
uh, crazy, right? Well, hey, we're running late, but let's again agree to agree and get back together after the conference and
Yeah.
compare notes. And then quickly for the listeners, Malachi, where do you stand as far as nationals go? Are you in the top 16 that you got to be in to go? Because you said you would have gone to the indoor, but they didn't go.
Yeah. I think it might have been. So I kind of, I didn't actually talk about what I did indoor, but I opened with a 209 jump. Um, and so I was 6'10" and a quarter. And then I was at the end of indoor, like right before nationals, I think I was like 19th or 20th or like tied for something like around
Uh-huh.
there, tied for 19th in the nation. So I think they only take like 18 to indoor nationals. So I would have been like right outside of the qualifying.
Right.
But now I jumped 211, so 6'11 in our outdoor opener. And I think right now I'm ninth in the country, like
Hmm.
tied for ninth with like four other guys, including
Right.
Kirsten.
Right.
He also jumped 211 outdoors. Um, so yeah, so right now I'm kind of like I'm in that good groove, like not really like the high level like top five guys, but like um, there's like a good boat of us that are all going for sure, and it's kind of like
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's something to look forward to too. Where's that meet going to be?
yeah. So that's gonna be at Colorado, Colorado, the gold one.
Colorado
That
State or yeah,
Colorado
Colorado, the
State, yeah,
Buffs. Okay.
yeah, Buffalo.
Awesome. Well, hey, we got that to look forward to too. So, um,
Mhm.
well, hey, thanks again for taking all the time, Malachi. We do have this one recorded, so
Yeah,
gonna
that's
get
good.
it. I'm
Good.
gonna get it in the bag, do the processing, and we'll get it out there. So we'll have the first of hopefully many times that we can talk about high jump technique and
Yeah,
about all
for
the
sure.
great things that you're doing. So we got to get Eli on the hook one of these times,
Good.
sure. And
Definitely.
all right, well, hey, best of luck. I'll definitely be there. I probably won't see you Friday, but I'll be there Saturday morning. You guys jump at 11 o'clock, right?
Yeah. Women's high jumps at 11, men's following, and then I'm gonna triple jump around 2:30 or 3 o'clock. Hopefully, high jump's over by then, so I'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you got anything on Friday? You got qualifying for long
Yeah, I
or
think I'm qualifying in long Friday, which is pretty fun. I think that's gonna be cool. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, you'll get to meet Zach for that for sure. I think he's doing the same. So, all right, sir. Don't forget about that ice bath and
yeah,
visualize yourself
for
jumping
sure.
jumping out of the building.
Exactly.
All right.
2:15
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
for sure.
All right, Malachi, you have a good evening, buddy. We'll talk soon.
You too.
All
See ya.
right, sir. We'll see you. All right, let's go. And that's going to wrap it up. We officially uh cleared the bar on the second attempt. We got through the whole podcast. I didn't make a mistake. We're going to process later, but it is all recorded, and hopefully we'll be able to put it quote unquote in the can, which means it's the old terms for films, right? Stick them in those tin cans and send them off for processing or whatever, editing. But of course we do that all with computers now, but it's in the can. We're going to process it and get it out. Again, we got to spend over an hour talking high jump technique with Malachi Carrasco. He is a freshman at Fresno Pacific and leading the conference with a jump of 6'11" outdoors, 2 meters 11. He's looking to clear 7 feet for the first time here sometime soon. He's been jumping good in practice. He's fired up, and we'll see how that goes. And then he is sitting better for outdoor than he was indoor, which doesn't, it's not a mystery. I think for jumpers here in California, we just don't have much experience with indoors. I've told the stories many times of the struggles that I had indoors. So it's different for us because we're usually outdoor. Even the indoor qualifying marks for us are usually done outdoors. So it's no surprise that Malachi has jumped higher outdoor than he did in, and that he's qualified where he didn't quite feel like he would have qualified in the indoor, although his team wasn't going to go. So there you have it. Until next time, remember to follow us, hit the subscribe button, and also send in your DMs with questions for the Sky High and Fly Guy, which is me. And we'll answer your questions about anything from training, technique to, what are you supposed to think about? What do you think is the most important kind of, whatever. I can't do your questions for you, but looking forward to those. And until next time, Troy Haynes, the Sky High and Fly Guy, and here at the Raise the Bar podcast, we will talk with you soon. Have a good one.